Well, hello everyone. Rod Black with you once again. Another day, another Rodcast, another exploration into some fantastic conversation with some big name guests in sports and entertainment. And today we have a legend. He is a guy who is really good at closing time. And I'm not talking about the bar, although he probably is good at that too, but particularly closing time in games, particularly baseball games, about 3 decades ago when he was making a name for himself around Major League Baseball and around the sports world. Today, our guest is none other than a Hall of Famer, a 2-time World Series champion, all-around great dude, Duane Ward. Enjoy it, everybody. Let's roll the Rodcast.
The Rodcast with Rod Black, brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. Now here's your host, Rod Black.
Oh, the glory days. Oh, when men were men and starters were starters and closers were closers. And the days of the Blue Jays winning back-to-back. And there he is. Hello, my man, Wardo. There he is, Duane Ward. Happy 30th anniversary, man, from 1992.
Hey, well, thank you. Hey, I tell you what, thanks a lot for having me on the Rodcast. I mean, it's something I've been looking forward to. When I heard about it, I said, yep, I got to do it. So good to be here.
Yeah, you and I go back a long way. When I was covering the team back in 92 and 93, we got so much to talk about, Duane. First of all, by the way, congratulations, Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
Finally.
Finally, you were elected in 2020, but you had to wait a couple of years, as we all did because of COVID.
Absolutely. I tell you what, that was quite an honor. I had a chance to have my family there. My mom, my 3 brothers. So it was a special day, and it was great to see everybody there and catch up with old friends. But quite an honor. I couldn't have asked for anything more of how they did the whole thing and how they had waited for it to get us in there. But it was nice to see all the guys, Justin Morneau and Jeff Francis, and even Pedro Martinez came in because he was having some health issues and stuff, and so he couldn't make his induction, but he did it video. And so it was nice to see him there, and then just seeing all the guys again.
What did that mean to you? First of all, take me back when you got the original call.
Oh, you know what? We were at the Winterfest up in Toronto, and Scott Crawford was put word out that he was looking for me, and I was like going, okay, what's Scott, what's he want now, and finally I caught up with him after quite a few minutes and stuff, and he goes, hey, I just want to inform you before we release it, but don't say anything until around February. You're going to get inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And at that moment, it was pretty much, I kind of went numb a little bit, started, it makes you start thinking about, God, okay, what am I going to say? You start reflecting on your career. You start reflecting on, the minor leagues. You start reflecting on the big leagues. And it was just something where it didn't sink in until I think it was in February when they announced it in 2020. That here's the induction class of 2020. Myself, Justin Morneau, John Olerud, and Jacques Doucette. So it didn't sink in until they announced it, and then the phone calls came, people congratulating and all that good stuff. But it got real this past summer when they finally did the induction. Yeah. That's when it got real, realizing I had to stand up there in front of a microphone and speak. So it's quite an honor. But it's, you asked what it meant. I think it's almost like validation for your career, that your peers looked at you and said, you know what, yes, you are worthy of this. And it meant so much to me. It's, you play the game of baseball because you love it. You go out and do the best you can for your teammates. You do the best you can for yourself. All the individual awards and all the other accolades and stuff, that comes from from the hard work and people recognizing. But to get something like, the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, bestowed upon you is, that's beyond my wildest dreams. And I tell you what, I was so excited.
Yeah. Did you get choked up a little bit too, having family
Oh my
there?
gosh. You know what?
Because Wardo, you are a fierce dude, and I mean, when you played like nobody else.
Yeah.
But I also know you as being one of the nicest guys, and you are a softie, so you had to get choked up.
Don't tell anybody that. Everybody wanted to think that I was, really, really tough on the outside and tough on the inside and everything else. But no, the hardest thing about the whole speech and induction thing was, I lost my dad about 4 years ago, and during the speech, I didn't want to go very long, but I just wanted to stay away from talking about losing my dad, because I know he would have loved to have been there. And, I kept going, thanking everybody and this and that, whatever. And then, I said, okay, now I got to get to the tough part. I got to talk about, losing my dad and stuff. So that's when I got choked up a little bit and had to take a deep breath. But it was nice. I know he's happy. I know he was up there in heaven, just basically jumping up and down that his son, is in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
Like most young boys, they grow up getting the game from their dad or their mom or their siblings. Was that the same for you growing up in New Mexico? How big was your dad? With the ball, with the bat, with the glove. I mean, it's kind of the way. I mean, I know it sounds cliche. Sometimes it's like a movie, but I'm sure it was the same thing for you.
No, my dad was a good athlete. My mom was a good athlete. So, they pushed us to the extracurricular activities, away from, get out and play, get out and, do something. And, but I remember my dad, when he had time and stuff, he'd go squat for me and catch. And I used to beat him up because I didn't have the best control growing up. And so, he would get out there, but I also had three brothers that, we all, 4 boys in the family, you're going to play sports. And so, you learn from your older brother, and then my 2 younger brothers learned from us. And so, it was a sports family. We played all the 3 majors: baseball, basketball, football, and just looked at it as a way to get a scholarship. That's what we were looking at playing the game for. Hey, if we can get a full ride scholarship to go to college, then mom and dad don't have to pay for that. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you got the 2 boys, and now one of them's actually over in Arizona Fall League playing. So he's done good for himself.
Yeah, a good teacher. He had some good instruction when he was growing up. Duane Ward was right there. Well, you've taught so many kids across Canada. You've given so much back to the game. There are so many kids that say, Duane Ward helped me. My kids have, for sure.
Well, good. I mean, that's what it's all about. Is we have an opportunity. When I was coming through the system, through the minor leagues and then to the big leagues, everybody always took time to try to show you the ropes, try to give you a little bit of a advice, a little bit better way to do something. And so, I felt, it's almost 15 years ago now, we started up the camps up in Canada and doing all kinds of stuff for kids, kind of felt obligated to say, what, it's this experience and this knowledge is not mine to keep. It's mine to pass on. I had my day in the sun, I guess you can say, of having a career playing baseball, but now, it was time to get all my, teammates and stuff together and start teaching the younger kids, just try to give them a little bit of an advantage that I didn't have when I was growing up in New Mexico, and, very rarely got a chance to even see a big league game, or much less even get taught by a big leaguer or a former big leaguer. So it was something I wanted to do, was make sure I passed it along and kept that going. So I'm thrilled that kids say that they've learned so much from what, we had to offer.
Yeah, you've done so well with that. And buddy, I look back on Blue Jay history, and I'm sure you do too. And there have been so many significant trades that have been made. Everybody points to the Joe Carter, Robbie Alomar trade with San Diego. Yep. There's so many others. I point to the trade for Doyle Alexander. Who would have thought what would have happened, and the progression that happened for this team, especially when Batman and Robin, you and Tom Henke, became that dynamic duo. Take me through the whole semantics of that deal, and then becoming the setup man, and then one of the most dominant closers. Hey, not just in Blue Jay history, in Major League Baseball history. I mean, what a time that was.
Oh gosh. Let's see. I was, I think they were planning on making a trade with Atlanta, or
because you were drafted by Atlanta. You were brave.
Then it sent me down because I was in the big leagues. They sent me down in about, gosh, I think I only had like 3 starts in AAA when they sent me down, and I think they were doing it to clear a roster spot. But anyway, we're playing Norfolk, which is, Richmond and Norfolk. You bus back and forth. You don't stay overnight there. I was left behind because I was starting the next day. So they said, hey, just stay home. You'll come up with the team tomorrow when you're starting. Anyway, I got a call from Roy Matika, my manager, and he goes, hey, Duane. I said, yeah, what's going on? What the heck's the manager doing calling me at home? But he goes, hey, I got some good news and I got some bad news. He goes, bad news is you're not starting tomorrow. And I'm going, what? What's going on? He goes, well, let me give you the good news now. Well, you were traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. And I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, they want you in Syracuse, New York tomorrow. And I said, really? He goes, hey, take this as a blessing. He goes, you know what? He said, this might be something really good for you. So go in there with an open mind. He gave me a lot of advice about. So anyway, I packed up, went to Syracuse. And about a month later, they called me up into Toronto, and got to know the guys up in Toronto. And first time was in 1986. I mean, shoot, what, 37 years ago, 36 years ago. But the grass was greener on the other side for me. Just to give me an opportunity. And then, as you were saying, the niche, finding out what I'm going to do, because when I was in the minor leagues, I was always a starter. But when I got to the big leagues, even with Atlanta, I was a reliever. And so I think Toronto said, hey, let's just keep him in that relieving role and not put him back in a rotation or try to get him in the rotation.
Did that upset you at the time when that happened? Or, I mean,
no,
from a guy being a starter, no?
No, not at all. I looked at it and said, hey, gives me more chances to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
If I can go out there and pitch on, every other day, every third day, shoot, that's better than being a starter. So, I got a chance to really, hone my game and do it basically, learning on the job, especially about, the relieving aspects of it, of being able to minimize pitches, to try to throw as few pitches as possible when you get in the game, and then the bullpen, everything else. Where starters, it's more of a long game. It's, let's build as we're going through the game, and let's make adjustments throughout the game. Whereas as a reliever, you can't make any adjustments, especially if you're coming in with guys on base. You got to have your game honed already, ready to go. And so, but I had some good teachers. I had Bruce Suter, I had Gene Garber, I had Tom Henke, I had Dennis Lamp, I had all these relievers, these great relievers, kind of showing you the way of how to hone your game. But it was exciting. I was excited about coming to Toronto. I knew nothing I knew about Canada. Didn't know anything about the American League because I was really more invested in the National League. But so it was good. And then, like you said, the whole thing is that me and Tom became a duo, and I think we kind of revolutionized the way people are used out of the bullpen. I think you have that closer, but you have that pre-closer in front of it. And so I think that kind of changed the game a little bit. And now you're seeing it all the time now in the game of baseball today.
Yeah. And it is so different today because, the setup man, there might be a mid guy, but usually your starters kind of went 6, 7. You like to get 7. Then, you get maybe a pitcher in. You don't have to worry about a minimum of 3 hitters.
Yep.
They would go to you, then they would go to Tom, the Terminator. And of course, during that stretch, I look at that stretch, everybody talks 92 and 93, but I think also, which was important, was 91, when I think you guys had a bitter taste in your mouth, and it helped propel you to 92.
Well, that was the hardest thing the hardest thing for us to do was to get over that final hump. We could get into the postseason, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. We're always in the hunt or getting
Such good teams, Duane. Good teams.
Good teams, good offensive team, good pitching staffs. We just couldn't find a way to get over that hump. And then finally in 92, one swing of the bat, we knew that, Oakland A's were beatable and, not just going to do this, that, whatever. Boom, here we go. We found a way to get over the hump. And I think everybody on the team that year, we knew that once we got in there in 92, we were going to win. I mean, we just had the best team in baseball. So, I mean, I think that's the hardest thing is figuring out a way how to get over that hump. And, we saw the team this year. I mean, they get into postseason, first time, since 2015, I think it was, and they get in there and things just didn't click for them. But now they got an idea about, how to go about it and to get to that next step, and then finally get into a World Series. So, they're not far away. They're not far away.
I was going to say, do you find some similarities? I look at a Jordan Romano, who's become that dominant closer now. And again, different baseball than it was. I don't think they maybe have the starting staff that you had back in 92, 93, but they got those pieces. They got some offense. Are there similarities between those championship years and this Blue Jay team moving forward?
There are similarities, good core players. And that's, I think you got to have that core. And then you just got to start putting those pieces in from the outside, whether it be, via trade or bringing kids up from minor leagues or whatever, trying to fill those gaps. And I think the biggest thing, and I said this to, a couple of friends of mine before they got into postseason, I said, the bullpen's going to hurt them. The bullpen's going to hurt them. I think that's where they're the weakest. And, you can have a Romano, but if you don't have somebody in front of him to get the ball to him, it's moot. I mean, he's not going to play a factor. And that was the whole idea about, our bullpens back in the day was that everybody that went in there in front of Tom Henke got the ball to Tom Henke with the game still on the line or us still with the lead. So that's where I think they got to fill some gaps. But I think as far as a good core of players, I think the Jays of today have got a good core.
I want to go back in 92 and that team though, and how it gelled, and you added a big piece in Dave Winfield. Remember, Winfield wants noise and win it for Winfield. And you had so many other pieces that were added, and that big swing by Robbie Alomar. People talk about the Joe Carter home run. I'm sure you agree. In my mind, the biggest home run was the Alomar, because if you don't have the Alomar, you might not get to the Ed Sprague, which I think was the next biggest home run. Then you don't get to the Joe Carter, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. The whole thing is that I think the one swing of the bat, or actually the two swings of the bat, Robbie Alomar and then Ed Sprague. I think, and actually, funny story is I think that's my home run, because Ed Sprague pinch hit for me.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is so right.
He pinch hit for me, so in a roundabout way, it was my home run. So I got 3 wins in the World Series play, and also got 1 home run. So but I think those 2 swings of the bats, I think were monumental for us, because it could have been a situation where we don't get in if Robbie doesn't hit the home run. It gets us right over the hump. We go down games to Atlanta if Ed Sprague doesn't hit that home run off of Jeff Reardon. So, a lot of things came together for us, and I think that year was magical. And you mentioned Dave Winfield. Heck, we also added David Cone. So, you start looking at it, saying, and I remember when we got David Cone, we were in Detroit, and talking to Cecil Fielder, because he was the big man over there, but he's also a former teammate. We're talking to him, and and they just announced that we had traded for David Cone, and he looked at everybody and goes, "My gosh, how good are you guys gonna get?" We said, "Well, hey, we're looking to win this whole thing." So he goes, "Well, I tell you what," I said, "you guys got one of the best pitchers in the game now." So.
Yeah, you look at Coney, and what a character. You had Boomer as well, who was in the bullpen for a while there. I remember hosting in 92. Yeah, I remember looking down. You guys were all warming up before Game 6 when we were in Atlanta. I'll never forget Boomer. We have the World Series trophy just before the game. I'm hosting the event, and I look down, and a ball hits the World Series.
Oh, jeez!
And one of the flags, I think, broke off. Actually, there's Boomer, and I think you were down there with him, and they're throwing balls up at the World Series trophy. And then, of course, Coney, who's the biggest character of all. I remember when Winfield. You guys were leading. They allowed us into the locker room. They put up all the tarp. There's Coney smoking a cigarette, smoking a butt in the locker room. But Beeston's there.
Cigarette and a beer.
All of a sudden, Atlanta comes back and ties. We get banished from the room. Then Winfield hits it. We get pushed back into the room. There's Coney again with the butt. But I will never, ever forget.
See, those are the things.
Moment, that celebration, the look on your face, the look on everybody's face. Yes, there was great joy. I also think there was a great sense of relief.
Oh, it was a huge, especially for a lot of the guys that have been there for a while. You know, the Jimmy Keys, the Dave Steves, you know, Tom Henke, you know, coming up in '85. I think it was a relief for some of those longtime Blue Jays. It was a relief for them to say, you know what, oh my gosh, we finally did it, you know. But then, you know, like you said, the joy started coming on. But see, you're talking about things I didn't really get a chance to see, you know, about the rushing guys out, rushing guys back in, rushing guys out.
Well, there you were, you were out in the bullpen. I mean,
sitting there watching this stuff, you know, watching it live, you know, but no, I think it was, you know, gosh, you know, you got to think, you know, John Sullivan, Cito, you know, all the coaches and stuff that were there, you know, I mean, had to be a big relief. And even, you know, for Pat Gillick, Paul Beeston, it had to be something where they're going, okay, we finally did it. And then we got fortunate enough, you know, and, you know, not to jump too far ahead, you know, had another opportunity the next year. So, I mean, it was.
And your magical year. That was your great year. 45 saves, all-star. And little known fact, I think a lot of, you know, the Blue Jay fan will know that you mentioned your 3 wins in World Series play includes Game 6 when Joe Carter was jumping around the bases. I mean,
hit that home run.
93 must have been a dream year for Duane Ward.
Well, it was until about middle of August when I hurt my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, ended up getting some cortisone shots and stuff, and, you know, having to took about 9 days, 10 days off, and, you know, not pitching or anything like that, and then coming back, but picking up right where I left off. But, you know, that was the only downside of that year was when, you know, I hurt my shoulder and you know, ended up having all the problems I did after that. So, but outside of that, I mean, it was a dream year. It's the only thing you can, you know, say would have been better was, you know, to get the ALCS MVP, to get the MVP in the World Series. You know, I mean, couldn't have been a better year for me. So, I mean, outside of the, you know, those individual awards and stuff, I mean, it was perfect.
What was it like to play for Cito Gaston? And do you feel that Cito Gaston should be in baseball's Hall of Fame?
Oh gosh. The Hall of Fame thing, I'll address that.
I mean, you
first.
Look at managerial records, you look at World Series championships back to back. First African American before Dave Roberts, of course. And
you gotta give consideration. I mean, you got to sit there and look at it, and you got to look at it hard and say, you know, is this something, you know, that, you know, is he warranted? You know, is it warranted that he goes into the Hall? I mean, that's something I think people should really take a look at and look at it hard. Playing for him, all it was easy. It was, you know, Cito just said, hey, do your job. I'm not going to ask you to do anything more than you're capable of. Just do your job. And if you can't do your job, let me know. I'll get somebody else in there until you're ready to go again. I mean, so he was so easy because he basically stayed out of my way. You know, the only time I saw him was when he gave me the ball when I came into a game. And he just looked at me and said, hey, you know what you're doing? I tell him to get the hell out of here and let me do my job. You know, so it was, you know, it was a short conversation. But in between all, you know, the game stuff, I mean, he just stayed out of your way, and he was your friend. He was always there to, you know, if he wanted to talk, he'd talk to you and stuff. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, the manager closing the door and never hanging out with his team. He was always out there, just like all the other coaches were. They're always there talking, and as much a part of the team as they could possibly be without being players. So it was easy. Cito was fun to play for.
Do you ever have dreams? You know, looking back on that, I know it's 30 years ago, 20. I mean, but are there ever nights where you kind of wake up maybe in a nice cold sweat and go, yeah, we did that? Or as we all have had the dreams, those of us mere mortals who've never made it, where we get a chance and we never get onto the field. I'd like to know, like, are there ever any dreams where you're, you know, all of a sudden you get to the World Series and something bad happens, or you know what I mean? Like, but more not a dream, but a nightmare.
Oh, way back when, back in the day, after I got done playing and stuff, I'd think a lot about it, and I'd, reminisce. And, as time has gone on, it's kind of looking back at it going, not only did I play baseball, I'm a two-time World Series champion. Not a lot of players get to say that. So, it's easier now than it was when I first retired, because, I wanted to still be playing. I still, shoot, if I was healthy and strong enough today, I'd still be out there trying to play. So it's easier now, but it was harder back when I first, in the early 2000s, right after I retired, it was hard. And the only time I woke up in cold sweats is when I had dreams about facing George Brett. so that was, I enjoyed it. I have no regrets. I think the game treated me so well, and I think I respected the game, and I played the game the way it was supposed to be played. And I respected my teammates, respected my opponents. So, I think I did it the right way.
You did. You sweated the right way too, man. I worked with you on the broadcast. You sweat. And I think it's a good sweat, though. I think it's your body going, "Hey, this is a good." Yeah. No, seriously, man. I think you sweat in showers.
A lot of excitement and everything else, and other things. So, but it's just getting fired up. Drinking a lot of coffee and getting ready to go.
That was the thing, right? I mean, again, that's pre-Red Bull. I think, you look at some of the players. I mean, how did you get fired? I don't think you were as menacing, facially as a Dave Stewart, perhaps.
Just the evil stares.
Stare. You didn't have that, but I watched you on game days, even after, and there were two different Duane Wards, the Duane Ward off the field and the Duane Ward when he got that baseball coming out of the bullpen. Yeah.
I think that's a good analogy. It was, when the game's not going on, why be a bad guy? Why be, an ass? Be a teammate, talk to your teammates, have fun with your teammates. But when that game time came on, and it started getting closer and closer to, the fifth inning, the sixth inning, that's when you start turning on the juices and saying, okay. And I used to tell myself every time when I come running out of that bullpen, I used to tell myself, nobody's going to get a reputation off of me today. And I'd say that to myself every time I ran out of that bullpen, just to make sure that I'm getting to that fired up point to say, you know what, I'm going to go out here and give these guys hell. So that's how I approached it. And that's where that switch came right as soon as I came running out of that bullpen.
Yeah. You're also an amazing savant and student of the game.
Oh,
who out there today
love the game?
You love it. I know you just love the game of baseball. I mean, that's what the beauty of the game of baseball. But who out there today reminds you of you?
Oh gosh, who reminds me of me? Guy, I wished I was around the game more. Like, you're broadcast, you're doing all that stuff. You're around the stuff. So it's really hard for me to say who's like that.
It is different now. I mean,
well, it is. I don't think a lot of these players look back on it how I look back on it. I look back on it. I wanted to know who played before me. I wanted to know what people did before me. There's a lot of times I'd have the baseball encyclopedia on the airplane with me, just looking back at other people's stats and stuth. And
now they have iPads. Now they have, they got everything. They got all the algorithms.
If we'd have had the iPad and everything else back when I was, I'd have had that instead of carrying that big old dang, encyclopedia around with me. But no, it was just, to me, it was always wanting to know, who played before me, how did they do it before me, and it just became something where I wanted to know the history of the game and get to know it more and more and more. And I'm hoping that there's kids out there today that are looking at it that way, saying, because I think it gives you such a respect for the game of baseball, to sit there and look at it that, there's, I don't know, how many is there, about 12 to 14,000 people since 1869 to date have put on a big league uniform.
Wow.
That's such a elite group of people that actually get to put on that uniform, to say I'm in the big league, and that's, imagine how many players have played the game of baseball that never got a chance to put on a big league uniform. It's amazing. So I think that's where I get that respect for, saying, I was one of the elite few. and then to win World Series makes you even more of an elite, category. So to me, I hope, like I said, I hope these kids today are actually looking at it that way. And I think a Mike Trout, somebody I think respects the game. I don't think any of them disrespect the game. I just think some guys have a little bit more love for it than others. But gosh, I mean, look how good these athletes are today. I mean, it's amazing. They're incredible ball players. I'd love to face a few of them.
I will tell you that none of these kids today would like to face Duane Ward, at least the Duane Ward we watched for so many years. Do you like the game of baseball today and watching it and seeing what, I mean, it's made a few changes.
It's hard because, I like to pitch people in. People today don't pitch in hardly at all. I mean, unless the ball gets away from them a little bit, but it's almost like they're pitching to not get hit instead of saying, okay, hey, the first couple of pitches here, I want them to ground out or pop up. I want to try to eliminate, pitch count and stuff. Cause I mean, pitch count's so big in the game today, but you see them, pitching away. And if they do mess up, it comes back over the middle of the plate. And next thing you know, it's long ball city. I mean, I think that's how the game has changed. It seems like everybody just wants to hit a home run, and it's not, a guy gets, hits a double or something like that, next guy gives himself up to get him to third base. So, so that, they got two chances to get this guy in. It's like the minute the guy hits a double, the next guy, he wants to hit a home run. And so, and that's where I think pitchers get in trouble out there, is that they're trying to avoid contact instead of pitching to contact. I mean, they had a great pitcher in Toronto, Burley. I mean, this guy go out there and pitch a 9-inning ball game, throwing 90 pitches, and and have 22 ground balls. I mean, it's just
in an hour 18.
Exactly. Yeah, in an hour. Hour and 20 minutes. And so, I mean, I think that's how the game has evolved a little bit more. Where I think when these pitchers today, they get a little bit of trouble because they get the ball gets up in the zone a little bit, and these guys, these hitters are good hitters. I mean, you're not going to miss that fastball that's right down the middle of the plate. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, I think if they would start adjusting a little bit about how they pitch to hitters, they'll pitch somebody inside. Let them know that you're thinking of them out there on the mound, and that way it might open up that away pitch to you and stuff. So, but no, I would love to have a crack at some of these hitters and see what I can do with them.
Watching the World Series this year, and I think the playoffs have been amazing. Some great stories, but watching last night, for instance, it's a 1-run ball game, nobody out, runner at first base. Buddy, in your era, there is only one play. It's either a steal or a bunt. Get the guy over in a 1-run ball game, whether you're leading or you're trailing late in the game. That doesn't. I watch it, and I'm showing my age, but it just seems logical to go back to the way it used to be. But now it's like this bloop and blast thing. I'm not sure, well, I know that home run's sexy, but there still is some old school fundamental to
there's got to be
baseball.
There's got to be, especially in the World Series play, you got to try to find a way to score runs instead of it just being long ball. I mean, what happens if you don't hit a long ball? Well, you get a combined no-hitter thrown against you. So, I mean, every game, you sit there and look at these games, in the past few days. I mean, it's like, home run has played the difference in every one of the games. I mean, last night's game, like I said, and you said it, you get a guy on first base, you got to find a way to get him to second or third somehow, some way, so you get him across home plate, and whether you're up by one or you're down by one, you got to manufacture that to give yourself a chance to win a ball game. And that to me is, I think, kind of left the game, where now it's just, hey, if you don't hit the long ball, okay, hey, we'll get them tomorrow. And that's not the way the game's played.
Yeah, I'm going to be that old Muppet guy again, too. I mean, back in the day, I mean, you didn't see Robbie when in 92 had this, and that was kind of the most you would ever see. You wouldn't see the thing that goes on, the bat flipping, which some people think has added excitement to the game. It's certainly something that's down in Central America. A lot of the Latino players, that's the way they play, with so much vibrancy and electricity. It's fun. And I love Josh Naylor, by the way, great Canadian guy. The Rockabye Baby, maybe a little much. I wonder what you feel about it. And I wonder if somebody had done that to you.
No.
First of all, they didn't hit any bombs. What would have happened the next time Duane Ward pitched to them?
You're going to get hit. You're going to get, you're going to have something thrown at you. I mean, it's just, you don't want to, I know it's just in the excitement of the moment, but sometimes I think it's getting to a point where they're trying to just show that excitement in the moment just because everybody else is doing it. Ricky Henderson used to, have his little strut around the bases, but everybody looked at it and said, "That's Ricky," and nobody really, went after him because that's just, how Ricky was. But now, you're seeing these guys just literally, hit a home run off you, and they stand there and look at it, and they throw their bat 40 feet in the air. It's like, well, next time I see you, I'm gonna hit you. Don't show up the opponents. Or don't try to embarrass them. I mean, you did your job. It's almost like somebody who's 7'5" dunking a basketball. How hard is it for him to dunk a basketball? It's like you can stand there flat-footed and almost dunk it. Don't act like it's the first time you've ever dunked a basketball in your life. But that's the excitement I think that people nowadays see in it. And they, everybody wants to post it on TikTok. Everybody wants to post it on their Twitter feed and everything else. So, I mean, it's just, that's how the game, I think, has evolved a little bit more to where it's not really, I consider it showing each other up. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, it would have been showing you up.
You did not live in social media in that era as well.
No.
Maybe a good thing that there were no mobile devices around. I'm just thinking not for you in particular, because I know you spent a lot of nights at the library and perhaps an occasional church.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I think social media has changed the game. I mean, a lot of guys, sitting out there saying, this is my brand, this is my brand, this is my brand. Guys wanting to wear certain things when they go on TV or whatever, instead of wearing the team colors. I mean, that to me that's not a team player. That's not an organization, man. Hey, your job is to play baseball. It's not to see how many followers you can get on your account. And to me, I don't know if anybody realizes it now, but you're going to make more money playing the game of baseball than you are going to make off the field. So go out there and play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And I'll tell you what, people will follow you if you're good. So you ain't got to worry about how many followers you're going to have.
That is great advice. Well, okay. Wardo, one thing I know about you, you like to golf. So we'll play a quick 18. You cool with this?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so it might be more than 18, might be the 19th hole. You can have short answers, long answers. You're Duane Ward, so you can do whatever you want. All right? You ready?
Okay.
Let's tee off. Here we go. Why number 31?
13 backwards.
And you liked 13. That was your number. You're clearly not triskaidekaphobic.
No, I am very superstitious, but I wanted number 24, but that was already taken when I got to the big leagues. Who was it? Ken Obergefell had it, so I ended up going with 42, I think it was. No, I had 48 in Atlanta, 24 twice, and then when I got traded over to the Blue Jays. 31 was not taken, but 24 was. So I said, okay, give me 31.
And you made it famous. Okay, here we go. Favorite stadium of all time?
Oh gosh, you know what? I love the Dome up there in Toronto. But favorite stadium of all time, Fenway Park. Awesome.
Least favorite stadium?
Anaheim.
Best fans?
Gosh, Toronto Blue Jay fans are the best.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Good. I'd suck up too, though. But no. They are fabulous fans. Worst fans around?
Gosh, you know what? Philadelphia was hard. Philadelphia was hard.
Yeah, ask the Houston Astros. They've been taking it. Your favorite uniform in Major League Baseball history?
Oh gosh, you know what? I love the simplicity and everything else of the Yankees uniforms.
Worst uniform ever?
Oh gosh, the shorts that the Chicago White Sox used to wear.
You were known for your fastball. You were known for a guy who could also throw some hooks. What if you had a pitch now, looking back at it, that you wish you kind of would have had? What would the pitch been?
Split finger fastball.
Oh, nice.
I knew how to throw it because Bruce Sutter taught me how to throw it.
Yeah,
but I couldn't control it.
oh.
It was just a little something I just couldn't control. I wished I would have had it.
Yeah, you would have had 80 saves in one season. Your best little league moment.
Best little league moment. First time I hit a home run.
Oh yeah, where was it? Right, left?
I was in my hometown, Farmington, New Mexico. It was left field. I think I was 9 years old when I hit one over the fence.
You never forget that, do you?
No, never.
Isn't that funny? Your most embarrassing moment, and it doesn't have to be related to a play or whatever, but something that happened on the field or off the field.
Gosh, most embarrassing.
You probably
that's a hard. That's a hard. You know what? An embarrassing moment was a guy hit a chopper off the plate in Toronto, and went right up, and it was right in the sun, and I tried to block the sun with my glove, and I thought I had the ball. I was basically just trying to guess where the ball was coming from, and the ball hit me right on the forehead. And obviously as a base hit, but the most embarrassing part about it was after the game, there's about 6 or 8 guys in the clubhouse that were sitting there, and they put some blood on their foreheads. So they just said, kind of made fun of me, not catching the ball when it was right in the sun, but it hit me right on the forehead. Tom Henke was there doing it, Jimmy Key, those guys were sitting there, acting like it was me out there with a bloody Band-Aid on my forehead.
It didn't seem so bad after what happened to Jose Canseco. So that's
no,
there you
no,
go.
It didn't go over the fence for a home run. It was a base.
Best prank you ever played?
Oh gosh. You know what? I didn't prank a lot of guys. It was you would just basically try to, just having fun and stuff, but it wasn't a prank. One of the best ones I saw was Jimmy Key did one on Ernie Witt. I don't know if you remember, they had those brushes that had those little rubber tips on the steel ends of the brushes, and Jimmy Key went in there during the game because Ernie was catching. But it's a classic prank. He cut off their little rubber tips on all the little metal bristles, and Ernie came in after the game, and he had this little tiny mirror, in front of his locker, and he come in there, grabbed that brush off, didn't even look at it. He scraped it right over his forehead. I'll tell you what, he instantly started drawing blood on his forehead. And
I shouldn't laugh, but it
was absolutely classic because everybody was sitting there waiting for it and watching. And I'll tell you what, he had blood coming immediately, and he thought it was Cecil Fielder, but it was Jimmy Key. So that was one of the best pranks I'd seen that somebody else got blamed for, not the guy that actually did it.
Yeah, that 92 team had a lot of pranks. I remember some of the hot foots that were going, hot feet that were going around.
Yeah, guys crawling underneath the.
I think Boomer was probably one of the biggest culprits for that.
Getting the syringes, squirting alcohol on their shoes and stuff. I mean, guys, it got very creative.
You need some help. You got a flat tire. You need gas. Maybe you're having one of those days. You just need to talk to somebody. Who does Duane Ward call?
Oh gosh. Well, right now I call the wife, but back when I was playing and stuff, she called any one of my teammates. I think any one of them would have dropped what they were doing to help out.
Yeah. Funniest teammate you ever played with?
Oh gosh, funniest. Rene Gonzalez was pretty dang funny. David Cohn was a guy that, you never knew what to expect from him. So, it could be really gross or it could be really funny. It's just guys that just, guys had good times back then, where, was a lot of stuff didn't happen on the field, but a lot of stuff happened in the clubhouse, off the field and stuff. So, but, those two guys come to mind real quick here because they were always trying to prank somebody.
Yeah. Best teammate you ever had? You had a lot of great ones.
Yeah, a lot of great ones. I mean, the list that list is long and distinguished. Love Jimmy Key, Mike Flanagan, Tom Henke. Uh, guys that I spent a lot of time with. Timlin, Pat Henkin. Just guys that we always sat there and just talked baseball and talked about how we can get better. Danny Cox was another guy that was a great teammate. Mark
pitchers hanging with pitchers, man. They got their own little club, don't they?
Well, you do, because you're just separated away from the everyday player, and so you're out there shagging for the guys that can't hit. I'm just kidding; they could hit, but you're out there shagging. But you're always, you're out there with other pitchers. You're not out there with the everyday players. So you build a bond with them.
I know you're in Vegas, and I know what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh, I don't do
on the Rodcast. Well, actually, everything's on the Rodcast, but so I guess this is a formal answer. If you were pitching today, who would be the player that you would like to give a little chin music to?
Oh gosh,
everybody.
Bryce Harper.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I don't know. I just Aaron Judge. I guess you go after the big name players just so you get that respect from everybody else on the team.
How about in your day, you looking back, who is the guy that you would have kind of liked to have beamed?
Just kind of liked to have? Like I said, I think I'd like to have hit them all, at least that way you get some respect. But gosh, I don't know, I don't know. Ricky Henderson would be one guy I'd like to hit, but just because the guy, he's just nothing but a menace on the bases, and if you hit him, he goes to first base, and now he's going to steal third.
He did help you win. He did help you win a ring, though, Wardo.
Yes, he did.
People could talk about Joe Carter's home run, but
Dennis
if Ricky Henderson isn't on base, what was that?
Dennis Eckersley would be somebody I'd like to hit.
but back to Joe's home run, a lot of people didn't realize that Mitch Williams had never pitched from a slide step before, and because of Ricky Henderson on base, he was worried about Henderson.
Absolutely, yes, panicking about it because he could steal off of lefties or righties. It didn't matter. He just caused havoc. That's why he'd probably be one of the guys you just like to hit, but you put him on third base if you hit him.
Duane Ward, who was the most famous person you ever met?
Gosh, the man known all around the world, Muhammad Ali.
What was that like?
Oh gosh, it was in the Toronto airport. I was actually on my way flying home, and I got to the airport early, and I was sitting there waiting for the little gate to open up so we can go through there, and all of a sudden, here comes this man and his wife and one other person. It wasn't like an entourage. One other person coming and sat down, and I looked over at him, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "That's Muhammad Ali." And so I went all over, looking for something so I could get his autograph, and what I did was I walked over to him and just said, "Hey, Mr. Ali," I said, "is it okay if I, get your autograph?" And he pulled out a little pamphlet of Religion of Islam, and he signed on there to Duane, and he put the date on there. I think it was like 1980, 87 or 88. But but it was almost like, shook his hand and just, what do you say to the, to the guy who's the greatest? He said, look at him go, "You're still the greatest."
Wow.
So Muhammad Ali, a man known around the world. And
who was your hero growing up?
Oh, my hero was Nolan Ryan. I mean, got a chance to meet him and talk to him. And so, I mean, baseball gave me an opportunity to meet a lot of good people.
Go-to song on your playlist?
Oh, gosh.
Maybe it would be your walk-up song today, or your walk-in song.
Metallica's always got some good stuff out there. I used to love Van Halen. I used to, just something that's just going to be, hard and loud.
Kind of the way you played.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard and loud. Best baseball movie ever?
Oh gosh. You gotta say, Field of Dreams, but I also love The Natural with Robert Redford too. And then, if you go back, you got to look at the one with Gary Cooper when he played Lou Gehrig, the Lou Gehrig
Pride of the
story,
Yankees.
Pride of the
Yeah.
Yankees.
You know something? Baseball. There's so many great baseball. I could watch baseball movies all day.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, you got Major League, which is the comical side of baseball,
Yeah,
which always come, but like those ones.
Yeah. Dinner with 4 people, living or not. What would you like to have at your table? And what would you serve?
Oh gosh, what do I serve? Well, I mean, one person I think would have been great to have met would have been Elvis Presley. Would have been a good one.
Really good one.
John Lennon would have been another one.
Look at you with the musical stuff, huh? Look at you.
Who else would be someone great to meet and sit down at a table with them? God, you asked me for 4 people. I mean,
It could be any. I mean, you got Elvis and John Lennon. Those are 2 pretty good ones.
Just people that would like to just sit down and just finger food, so that way you can sit there and just chew the fat, and throw some Labatt's Blues at them. Say, here, drink these with your wings and fries and stuff.
Cheeseburger for Elvis.
Exactly, cheeseburger. I can always eat a cheeseburger too.
Pete Rose, Hall of Fame or not?
For what he did on the field, yes. For what he did off the field, no. I'm still out on that one. I mean, one of the greatest hitters of all time. You got to give him his kudos for what he did on the field, and but when you walk into that clubhouse, there's a big sign that says "Rule number 21." No bet, no baseball.
Yeah,
but he was my first major league walk.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Pete Rose was my first major league walk.
Wow. When here you're a young guy, I'm sure. Pete Rose, greatest hitter of all time. I mean, did that ever enter your brain when you were like against some of these legends? Like,
you sit there. Well, you sit there and look at it. When I was facing, going, here's the all-time hit king. I guess I'm going to get him out real easy, aren't I? So you got to sit there.
You walked him.
Yeah, I walked him on 4 straight pitches and talked to him the next day. And I thought 2 or 3 of the pitches were strikes, and I looked at him and said, where in the hell were those pitches at? And he goes, "Don't worry about it. Keep doing what you're doing. You'll be all right."
Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, A-Rod, the part of the accused steroid era, Hall of Fame or not?
You know what? I mean, if you're gonna, I think there's guys in there right now that have been, that have tested positive. So, I mean, I think at some point in time, you got to start looking at it and put an asterisk by people's names saying, it's performance enhanced or whatever. So,
maybe just have a wing in the.
Yeah. You can say the yeah, exactly. Performance enhancing era. But, at the time, it wasn't illegal to do. And then all of a sudden it's illegal. And, I would have just fessed up to it and said, hey, I won't do them anymore now that we can't do them. But, that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me.
If you had to write a book or if you had a title of a book or a movie about your life and you got a chance to name it, and maybe you need a little time, what would your title be?
Where did I always come out of? Left field. So Out of Left Field.
Oh, that is good. That is really good. Because you're out of left field sometimes. Yeah, too. I like that.
Yeah, out of left field.
And you're also a straight shooter. 2 more. If you were commissioner, Duane Ward was commissioner for a day, and you could make any kind of changes in the game, what would you do?
Roll the rules back to about 20 years ago. Just take the guy out at second base. That's not a problem. Busting up a double play, running over the catcher. It's part of the game. I wouldn't have, pitch clocks on pitchers. Baseball's a game that's going to be played in its own due time. I think I'd like to see it go back to where it's more of a purist of a baseball. People go out there to sit down and have a beer and a hot dog and enjoy a baseball game. If it takes an hour, if it takes 3.5 hours, that's the game of baseball.
And finally, you can finish this sentence.
I,
Duane Ward, owe all my success to
my parents. They, they gave me every opportunity, afforded me every opportunity, drove me to every baseball game, basketball game, football game, supported me in whatever endeavor I wanted to do. And so my parents would be the ones that I owe my success to. They taught me to never give up, strive to be better. That was my mom and dad.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to get, Wardo? I'm going to get you to answer that. You just froze a bit. Just froze a bit.
Okay.
I'll get you to. I, Duane Ward, owe my success to
My parents. They afforded me and gave me every opportunity to succeed. Drove me to the ballparks, football fields, and basketball courts, everything. They were the driving force behind my success. Allowed us to do whatever we wanted to do and supported us in it. So my mom and dad definitely are the ones that were the driving force behind my success.
I know they are always in your heart. I know you made them proud, as you made so many Canadians and so many baseball fans. Man, I miss you. I can't wait to see you.
Well, hopefully we'll
thank you for your time. As always,
pleasure.
I always love talking baseball, talking life. You are one of the most fascinating guys I know, fascinating athletes. And what I love most about you is you're just a good guy. I love having a beer with you.
Well, thank you, Rod. I'll tell you what, we had a good time up in Moose Jaw the last time I saw you in person. So, we had a couple of beers then too. So, hey,
just
thanks
only
a lot.
Only a couple.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't go to bed that night, but it was just a couple of cold pops. But hey, thanks a lot for having me on your show, Rod. And I know you're going to do great at this. And if you ever want me back on again, just give me a call.
Every single day. Keep those World Series rings close. And hey, I love also calling you a Hall of Famer. That's
great. That I'll never get used to that, but I'll tell you what. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Wardo.
Okay, Rod.
Cheers, brother. He's just one of those guys you could talk baseball and talk life for hours. Duane Ward, and as much as I admire what he did on the field and on the diamond, he is a diamond away from the game too. He has given so much of his time to charity. Jay's Care Foundation, all of the academies. He helps kids every single day get better at the game, teaching them the do's and the don'ts, some of the pitfalls. I know he also gives them some secrets about pitching. And one thing I love about him is his straight shooter, and he's very honest with kids and parents. And again, he's just one of those great guys that you love hanging around. We're so happy that Duane Ward was able to hang around with us. And guess what? In the spirit of Wardo, it's closing time. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time for another episode of The Rodcast.
The Rodcast with Rod Black, brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.